The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We got a fabulous show this week. I am really excited for this one, and I know it seems like I say that every week, and I am excited every week because, man, we've been on a heater lately with some of the guests we've brought in, with some of the conversations we've had, gotten lots of great feedback from you all out there, and we very much appreciate it. But this week in particular, I got a little extra reason to be happy. In my work in the industry, in the entertainment business, in the music business, in the indie creative industry, there's a certain list of people, kind of a secret list I have of, boy, I'd sure like to interview this person at some point, is what I have on this, is what I call this list. And among the people that I have on this list, this group of people that I just would be particularly excited to interview, one of the people on that list is Jeremy Sirota, the CEO of Merlin. And I'm happy to say that joining us in the second segment this week on the program is, in fact, Jeremy Sirota. Now, Ryan, you might say, why are you so excited to talk to Jeremy Sirota? You know, I've heard he's involved with some company called Merlin. What is Merlin? I know about King Arthur and Merlin, but why, as an indie creator, should I care about Merlin? And the reason why is that Merlin, and this is why I'm particularly excited to talk to Jeremy Sirota this week, Merlin is one of the most powerful companies, not just in the music industry generally, but in indie music specifically. They represent the interests of publishing catalogs and sound recordings for thousands of record labels and thousands of indie artists. They are basically the one of the 800-pound gorillas in the music industry. Give you an example. When a company like YouTube wants to renegotiate all of its music licenses with the music industry, who's coming to the table? Well, certainly Universal's going to come to the table. They're a big dog. And Sony's definitely coming to the table because they represent a big chunk of the industry. But you know who's also coming to that table? Merlin, because Merlin is the group that's representing a lot of these indie artists. They are sitting at the table, equal in position to the Universal, to the Sony, and representing the licensing interests of indie artists and indie labels. And so, as somebody who works in licensing, and as somebody who is obviously an advocate for indie creators, I'm excited to hear about this guy's day-to-day, hear about some of the initiatives going on at Merlin, and to have Jeremy give all of us some advice. And so it's going to be a blast. This is going to be a powerful, informative, exciting show this week, and I'm excited to share it all with you. And I'm excited to share this week's episode with our co-host this week. Always a pleasure when she joins us. Katie Zaccardi is here. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Ryan. How are you today?
I'm doing very, very well. Your backdrop looks a little brighter this week. I don't know if you got extra lighting in there, but it's really nice. It's quite sparkly and positive.
Well, thank you. You know what it is? It's summer.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
it's just summer?
I have like a window here, and that's a window technically as well. And so the sun is setting, but it's still a little light out. So we're just getting summer. Because usually I even have a ring light, and it still doesn't look nice like this.
I was about to say, like, it seems like you have a lot of supplementary lighting in there because you're so well lit. But you're just telling me that's just the sun, baby.
Yeah, and the sun is barely even here, but it's still giving what we need. So,
See, so in Nashville, the sun is giving you, in the summertime, perfect lighting for podcasting and live stream. Whereas down here in South Florida, the sun is just giving us death hellscape, 1,000-degree heat. The moment you step outside, you just turn into a sweaty puddle. So the sun's doing different things to us.
Well, the sun is also doing that here.
Is that okay? Fair enough. I have been told before we get into the proceedings this week, because we got a lot of great stories to talk about. We obviously have Jeremy Sirota to talk to in the second segment, but I would say the most important thing on the agenda is I have been told, Katie, that you have a new knitting project, and we love hearing about your knitting projects. What are you knitting this week?
This week, this month, this year, honestly, it's been going on forever, but I am knitting a tank top.
Oh, no, that's cute.
Yeah. The thing about this that I'm still trying to figure out is how to like size projects. So I think it's a little large on me. So if anybody would like to be gifted a tank top, let me know. Slide into my Instagram DMs. But it's very cute. It is big. It's not done yet. I'm losing the motivation to finish it because it's big on me. So I'm like kind of being a slacker. But I think it's very cute. It's very much butter yellow, which you know is trending on the internet these days. And we've got a nice little detail on the sleeve. So if you would like to commission me to finish this and then give it to you, let me know.
Boy, we really do celebrate indie creators of all stripes around here, including our indie knitters. I like that tank top. It sort of gives like summertime country club chic to me. I could imagine somebody wearing that in a country club and absolutely trying to get some poor waiter fired because they sent you the wrong drink in the middle of the day.
That's exactly what I was trying to make.
I mean, it's obvious. Like it's the first thing you see when you look at it.
Yeah. So it's high in demand. I will be wearing it as soon as I finish it, probably in 2027 to the Hamptons.
There you go. Absolutely. Now, Katie, I have something of a bone to pick with our mutual friend Taylor Swift.
Go on.
So obviously, as any, what's that?
She was just in Nashville.
She was just in Nashville. That's what I wish to. That is the bone with which I wish to pick here. Okay. So she was in Nashville recently, giving what has been billed as a surprise concert because she showed up at Brooklyn Bowl, Nashville, and did a concert that obviously wasn't on her touring schedule. She tends to play venues that are slightly larger than Brooklyn Bowl, Nashville. This is a little bit smaller in capacity than what she's used to. Yeah. However, I it's being billed as a surprise concert, and I kind of don't feel like that's the right term to use here because the concert was for Travis Kelce's Tight End Academy.
Yeah.
And when you're doing something for your boyfriend's event, can we still call that a surprise concert? I know I'm nitpicking here, but like if she was at Jalen Hurts's academy, that's a surprise concert.
Yeah. I will, first of all, let me just say this. I love Brooklyn Bowl. I love Brooklyn Bowl. It's such a good venue down here. It's always clean. It's beautiful. It's so nice. And it's in my neighborhood. So I'm so upset that I missed that just because it seemed fun. But number two, did she also even play multiple songs or did she just play one? Because to me, it really was like Taylor Swift showed up and did guest appearance at her boyfriend's job, as opposed to like Taylor Swift like hosted a secret show that you had to be in the know to get tickets to, like, you know what I mean? There's a difference.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I only grasped her impromptu performance through like various TikToks that I've pieced together. So from what I gathered from that, it didn't seem like she played, an extended set, but
no, I'm pretty sure she just played Shake It Off.
It sounded great, by the way.
Which it did, yeah. Like, I mean, and good for her, and we love it. But I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Don't come at me, Swifties. I'm sorry, but I think it. Producer Lauren is saying one song only. So there you go. To me, I think the internet is saying it's a secret show because the people who were there want to say that they attended a full secret Taylor Swift show.
Oh, I would absolutely lie. I mean, if like I was, if Taylor Swift was in like the same city I was for a second, I would say, oh yeah, she played a secret show. And I was there.
And I was
Like
there. So the whole thing.
Taylor Swift was at the Panthers game a couple weeks ago, which is like 15 minutes from my house, and I'm telling people she played a secret show.
So is it also a secret show when I show up to the neighborhood bar, drag my friends there, and then do karaoke for one song? Or is that just,
it's the same
Tuesday night?
It's the same. Six of one, of course. Naturally, Katie Zaccardi. And I'm glad that you sung the praises of Brooklyn Bowl, because your sentiment is something that is shared across all of us here at Break the Business. We've had several folks from Brooklyn Bowl, all the various Brooklyn's Bowl around the country, and think it's a great venue. It is. They do a great job. And obviously, as I've said before, like, music is great, bowling is great. Like, put the two things together, obviously it's great.
Yeah.
And if anything, I like the fact that we're talking about Brooklyn Bowl, because it does give us a excuse to do a quick aside here and revisit one of my favorite segments that we did at Break the Business, which is when we interviewed a Brooklyn Bowl executive, and it allowed us to bring out our old list of bowling team names that connote music. and so I think we can revisit some of this list here. We had Katy Sperry. We had OK Gope in Frame, Build Me Up Gutter Cup, Taylor Split. I think the one that the Brooklyn Bowl people liked the most was Split Ski, and Madison Beer Frame was pretty popular. Britney Spears. We had a lot of fun with this.
Britney Spears, that's good.
Britney Spears. My personal favorite, I think it was either between Split Ski or Bowlie Eilish. I would love to play on a bowling team that is Bowlie Eilish. Throughout the show, we might sprinkle a few more of these bowling teams in there, because they do make me happy. But first, I'd like to talk about a story involving Google. According to a recent report from CNBC, it has been reported that Google is using its massive library of videos uploaded to YouTube, all the people that have put videos on YouTube, including this podcast. It is using those videos to train its AI models, including its new VO video generator. While YouTube claims that it's only using a small percentage of its videos to train its models, creators are accusing the platform of not being fully transparent in communicating to creators that their content can be used in this manner. And a lot of the conversation that's been going out right now, Katie, has been people asking, can Google do this? What rights do they have to use this content? A lot of creators are saying, when I put my content on YouTube, I wanted it to be used so that people can watch it on YouTube. I'm not trying to train VO. I'm not trying to train Google's AI tools. A lot of creators are afraid that VO might replace them at some point, so they kind of don't want to train their replacements. And so I've had people reach out to me and say, is this something Google can do? I never agreed to this. And the short version is, while you do own the rights to your videos when you upload them to YouTube, just because you upload it to YouTube does not mean that you have lost your rights. Those are still videos that you own. YouTube does have a terms of service that is quite broad in terms of the content license that you grant. It's if you go to the terms of service, it says, quote, by providing content to the service, in other words, by uploading your videos to YouTube, you grant to YouTube a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable license to use that content. Man, whenever I see those 5 words together, worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable, it's just like the 5 horsemen of the giving up your rights apocalypse. Basically, you put those things together, it allows YouTube to do almost anything that it wants with the content you upload. You might still own that content, but YouTube can do almost anything with it, including using it as training for the VO platform. And so if the question is, can YouTube do it? The answer is yes.
Should they?
But should they is kind of the topic that's going around right now. What are YouTube's responsibilities in terms of communicating this to creators? Should they give creators an opt-out where they message the creators and say, hey, just so you know, this is something we do. If you don't want us to do this with your content, click this button and you can opt out. How did you feel, Katie, as somebody who I know uploads a lot of stuff to YouTube just as I do? How did knowing that you are training the machines to make VO videos. How did that grab you?
Well, what's interesting too, before I even give my initial reaction, is I just saw a couple news stories this week saying that CapCut was doing something similar. So CapCut is an editing platform that I actually use, and it's owned by the same company as TikTok. And so when the TikTok ban happened in January, I think it went away for a few days and then it came back. But CapCut went away, I should say, as well for a few days and then came back. But
that was a scary 72 hours for all of us.
Yes, very. They basically did something where, or what I've heard is that they changed their terms of use so that they can use your stuff for anything. Like basically it's like, if you edit using our platform, we can use your content however we want. We own your content. And while it's not the exact same thing, it's not like YouTube using it to train AI. Sounds like what YouTube's contract is saying is like basically the same thing of like, we can do whatever we want with your content. So very freaky. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And not only do I not like that it's sneaking in there, hey, we actually can do anything we want with your content, but even with the AI training, this might be like an uneducated thing to say. I'm not like super savvy in AI, but I just feel like there is so much content on YouTube. It just makes me wonder how are they figuring out what to use to train the AI? Is it just everything? Is it not all the content that's on YouTube is good content either? So it just like raises a lot of questions for me where I as a creator definitely don't want my stuff to be automatically subjected to that. But it also just makes me wonder, like, what are the parameters that any of this is even happening within? And why do none of us seem to have any rights all of the sudden? Like, how is it even legal that aside from the fact that it's in the contract, when you think of things like copyright law, how is it legal that they can just say, oops, you actually said that we could use your stuff for anything? So we're because we snuck it in there and you didn't notice. So we're just going to use it for whatever we want.
God forbid they use Break the Business episodes to train their AI platform. It could set AI back decades. I mean,
maybe that's the strategy is we start to create really, really bad YouTube videos and podcasts. So it messes everything up.
That's right. Just keep throwing as much Break the Business content as possible. We will break the machines.
We will break the AI.
I mean, let's put a pin in that piece of it, because I'd love to, in the next segment, talk to Jeremy Sirota about this, because this is something that is very much a hot issue for Merlin right now. A lot of their content is being perceived as being used to train AI platforms like Suno and Udio, right? A lot of these, this is something that I know keeps Merlin up at night, that a lot of their stuff is being fed into the machines without their permission. And because Merlin has taken a pretty aggressive approach to this, you go on Merlin's website, there's a whole page that talks about AI training. And basically what they put up there, it literally in bold letters, we don't consent to you using Merlin music to train your AI unless you have a license with us. And, you need to negotiate that. These are copyrighted works. So, this is something that they're being aggressive about. And I would imagine that creators should adopt a similar approach. And it's not to say that we shouldn't necessarily use video to train AI platforms. There are lots of video creators out there who were quoted in this CNBC story who say that we intend to use AI platforms to make our own videos, right? They like the idea, a lot of creators do, of having a platform where they can enter in a prompt and get some B-roll footage without having to go through a lot of steps to get that B-roll, which they can then use in their own videos. And that's always been my feeling with AI is we can use AI content to get human content to the next level. It's just another tool. But a lot of those creators say, you can use my content to train your AI, but you have to compensate me the way that you would compensate any artist whose work you license to create something else. And there's some pretty cool tools out there, at least that I know of on the music side, Katie, where they can actually, when an AI song gets generated on a platform like Suno, they can actually use technology to figure out how much of each different artist's songs was used to create that AI. Like they could say, okay, that's 5% a Mitski song and 10% a Britney Spears song was used to make this AI generated work. And in theory, that can then be used to compensate those creators. And I'd love to see if something like that can also happen on the video side.
Yeah.
And then allow YouTubers to opt in and say, yes, you can use my content to train your AI. But when that AI generates money, I want to see some of that money. And, that'd be a little bit more of an ethical way to do this.
You are so right, Ryan, but I don't see that happening. Only because I feel like they're all just trying to make money. They're just like being like a capitalist machine, and I don't think that they care about people. I honestly feel like the people who are doing this like the companies who are doing this are not looking at these works as works from people. Like I feel like there's almost a degree of dissociation of just like, we're just going to compile all this information. Like even with ChatGPT, like when you're just we're just taking Wikipedia pages and these articles, but like people wrote that stuff. People, they put it down on paper. They thought it, they researched it, they put it down on paper, but you kind of have to like dissociate a little bit from that in order to zoom out and do it and justify it. So while I love that idea, I would be very surprised if that happened, because I don't think that's even how they look at it. I don't think they're thinking, oh, we're going to create a song that's half Britney, half Billie Eilish using AI so they get the credit. They're just thinking like, feed the machine.
And it is feed the machine. And it's very much a shoot first and ask questions later that all these AI platforms are adopting with respect to copyright.
Yeah.
Let's say hypothetically, like, before all this AI stuff happened, like before Suno happened, before ChatGPT happened, if one of these platforms had come to me as a lawyer and said, this is what we want to do. We want to take the entirety of the internet, feed it into our machine, and then allow it to, through the use of prompts, to generate new stuff that's AI generated. I would say as a copyright lawyer, well, you're going to have to get 1 billion licenses for that. You're going to have to go to all the labels and get licenses from them. You're going to have to go to the motion picture. You have to go to all the film companies, get them to sign on. You're going to need to come up with tools to allow all these people to get compensated. It's going to be a huge undertaking. Mm-hmm. And obviously none of these tech companies want to hear that. Yeah. And I'm sure some lawyer told them that at some point. So instead they said, we're going to shoot first and ask questions later. We're going to steal this stuff. We're going to feed the machine and we're going to grow and get big. And then when all these people try to sue us, we'll be big enough to try to fight them. And that's what's happening right now, right? Because all these companies are getting sued. All these AI platforms are getting sued. And now we're going to have these fights and they're going to try to argue it's fair use, even though the fair use argument's pretty weak. Yeah. And ultimately, they're going to get what they want, which is what we're already starting to see with like the Suno case, where they're negotiating royalties for these major labels to get like those people paid. And, ultimately, they're going to get a better deal than they would have gotten had they went to these folks on the front end before they built their platform.
Yeah, it's literally like, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. And I think that they're banking on the whole world being like, thank you, AI gods. We need this AI so bad. What would we do without your AI platform? And unfortunately, I feel like there probably is a degree of that. Like we have just been told. I sound like a conspiracy theorist right now. I swear I'm not. But
you're in it. This is fun. I like conspiracy theorists, Katie.
Get us. No, that's not. I know I'm fired up and sounding that way, but I don't mean it in any conspiracy theory way. But
it's all around us, man.
Just like, yeah, right. But I think observing how like culture is reacting to AI right now, I think we're really just being told AI is the future. Use this AI thing. AI is what's happening. And a lot of people are really hesitant about it. But then, like, even me, I'm hesitant about it, but I also love to use my friend Chad, aka ChatGPT. Like, it's a balance. But also, like, ChatGPT is wrong sometimes, or other AI platforms are wrong sometimes. And so I think these companies are banking on the fact that we're all going to be like, yes, we're so blessed to have this, like, we'll just cooperate with you because this is the future. But I hope that they are met with a little bit of resistance so that they're forced to think about how to do this more ethically and maybe just like slow down a smidge so that they can also do it better instead of just doing it faster so that they can get away with more stuff.
I'm
So,
with you on that. I
yeah.
mean, keep in mind though that like this is what every big tech company does. Like AI didn't invent this strategy with respect to copyright. This is exactly what YouTube has done and TikTok has done, right? These are platforms that built themselves on the back of having unlicensed third-party content be uploaded to their platforms. And then the platforms rely on like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act to say, oh, we're not the ones uploading this illegal content. It's the users. That's not our fault. But they still built their empire on it. And you know, the reason why we have TikTok is because a whole bunch of people uploaded music without permission and made the platform cool and fun with all this new music. And then once they got big, then they could go to the labels and say, well, you better make a deal with us because this platform is going to exist with or without your support. And then they got them to come to the table.
And to be fair, with TikTok, I'm like, darn, I guess you guys better figure it out because this isn't going away and we need it.
Yeah. And it worked because you fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. So it's kind of a winning strategy.
With ChatGPT, I'm like, okay, well, it's still like I remember seeing this thread that was like, give me a flat lay picture with no scissors. And then there's like a pair of scissors. The person's like, no, there's scissors in this. Take the scissors out. New picture, 2 pairs of scissors. Did we talk about this here? I feel like I learned this from you somehow, but I think it was just a random TikTok. But it's so, and then it's like, the person's like, do you know what scissors are? And then the AI is like describing what scissors are, and she's like, okay, give me a picture with no scissors. Picture comes back, 2 pairs of scissors. I can't justify that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why it needs more training. We're literally training AI right now by recording this show and having it simulcast on YouTube. We are part of the solution? Question mark. Before we go to break, Katie, I wanted to chat with you about something else. You were on a podcast recently where you were talking about social media engagement hacks, and I would be remiss if we don't give our viewers and listeners some of your social media engagement hacks before we bring in Jeremy Sirota this week. What'd you talk about on that show?
Yeah, well, it was actually just a solo episode I did on my own podcast because I've been bringing it back 1 episode a month. The Out to Be podcast. If you're a musician, go ahead and listen to it.
We're back, baby. I love it.
So I framed that episode as the ins and outs of social media, but for our Break the Business purposes, I will just talk about some like engagement hacks that I've been noticing because I took a big social media break. I wasn't posting for several years after like kind of just changing my work situation. And I recently decided to start posting again, but on a more general brand / possibly in the future music account. Long story short, some of the things that I've noticed that really work. One thing that I have been trying as I try to test things out to build a new account is literally just asking questions. So I love to use this as an engagement hack, especially if you're starting a new platform. It seems really simple, but I'll give you an example. Like I, on my TikTok, talk about creating. I also talk about dating a little bit, but creating. And so for instance, when I was knitting this very sweater or shirt, I was having a lot of trouble with it because I was originally using bamboo needles. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't matter. It's fine. But it was really hard. It was like painful to work with. And so I made a TikTok and I said, hey, knitting community, what do I do? Like, is it me? Is it the yarn? Is it the needles? And I got tons and tons of comments saying, you got to get new needles. So I got metal needles and we're good to go. But because I asked a question, it allowed people to give a response. I think a lot of times people will create content just telling. Here's what I did today. Here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I'm thinking. And you might be saying something that resonates with people so much that they say, I agree with you so much that I want to respond. But sometimes you have to just give someone something easy to respond to.
Yeah.
Another example is I did a post about dating apps, and I started it with a question. Like, it honestly was just a rant about my experience with dating apps. But I started it with a question saying, what is going on this app? Super broad and vague, but again, it allows people the opportunity to say, this is what is going on this app. This is what I'm experiencing. I'm right there with you. I'm not having the same experience. So if you're a musician, think about what the topics are that you talk about. And when you're not doing music related posts, which I encourage you, don't make every single post just you promoting your music. It's going to get real boring real fast. See if you can incorporate simply just asking more questions. I have one more I can give, but I don't know if we're out of time.
I mean, let's stick with that one because I do think that's a excellent piece of advice. I think creating content on social media that invites questions, to me, is valuable for two ways. One, I think having conversations on social media is more engaging content. Like, I think social media is at its best when it's not just you talking at people, but rather encouraging conversation. And if we want to be more cynical, if you want the cynical approach to it, my understanding of most of these social media platforms is that the evil algorithm tends to reward content and boost content that generates comments over just mere likes or reposts, retweets, what have you. Like, if you can get people commenting on your thread, that's the stuff that bubbles up to the surface. And so what better way to get those comments flowing than to ask a question as opposed to just creating one-sided content?
You nailed it. Like, getting those comments is going to boost your engagement. And when TikTok or any platform sees that you're getting that type of engagement, it's going to put it out to more and more people. And when those people see that people are commenting, they're going to be more compelled to comment also. Because, like, if you've ever seen a TikTok that has 10 likes and 0 comments, or maybe 1 comment, you're like, I don't know if there's really a conversation happening here. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. So I don't really feel like spending my time to comment on this. But when you get that initial wave, it exponentially builds on itself. So that's a little way. It's very simple. It's pretty, on the nose, but a lot of times we just don't create content that way. It's very me focused. So try to focus on the we and try to focus on like stimulating a conversation on your platform.
Yeah. And there's so much content out there that is just sort of like a bold-faced, like naked attempt to just generate comments and get engagement. And if it's the right kind of topic, though, it'll get me every time. Like, I get a lot of posts on TikTok where it's just like, name a random relief pitcher in baseball history that's, that you can't stop thinking about. And those get me every time, damn it. I immediately open up my phone and I'm like, Dennis Cook, can't stop thinking about him. Like, they got me again, son of a bitch.
Rats. On the law firm I work with, we did an episode on Space Jam on our podcast. And so we had a couple TikToks where the lawyers were debating like who's the GOAT, LeBron or MJ, and like the TikTok comments on one of those posts was crazy.
And that probably gets like 1,000 times more engagement than any of the law related stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's always how it works.
Yeah.
Great insight, Katie. I love that. I love the Katie Zaccardi engagement hacks. That's really good stuff. Let's take a break. We're going to be joined by Jeremy Sirota of Merlin. It's going to be a great conversation. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Katie Zaccardi. Katie, are you a Simpsons fan at all? I've never asked this about you.
Honestly, I am not.
That, in a way, that doesn't surprise me because I feel like this is the age divide between you and me. There's like that elder millennial, like younger millennial, Gen Z dividing line, and I think the thing that divides our peoples, Katie, is The Simpsons, because us elder millennials, we're obsessed with the show. I, for one, can quote chapter and verse like the first 11 seasons of The Simpsons. Like, I don't think there's a single thing about any of the episodes from like the first 11 seasons that I don't know. Like, you could ask me like any trivia question.
Wow.
It's gross. Like, I don't know my son's blood type, but I can tell you, like, I can recite the dialogue from like a random 4th season episode of The Simpsons.
Wow.
And like, I didn't like, but like my knowledge ends at like season 11. And like, but it's been running. The Simpsons are still on the air. Like, it's been on for like over 30 years. Okay. But like, I guess somebody's still watching it. And apparently, like, they killed Marge Simpson, who is the matriarch of the Simpson clan. And everybody went nuts because there was a season finale episode recently where Marge died. And, you know, everybody's like, you can't kill Marge Simpson. And like, it's weird because with the Simpsons, like, the family is static, right? Like, every character on that show has not aged since 1989. It's the same show. Like, they're not getting older. They're not changing their appearance. The Simpsons are always going to be the Simpsons. And so people freaked out because they thought that Marge died because they had an episode that was like a flash forward episode where they show Marge dying. And people freaked out so much that like an executive producer of The Simpsons actually had to come in recently and say, she's not actually dead. It's not canon. Relax, nerds.
Oh my God.
But like, in a way, it kind of made me smile because I was like, I'm kind of happy that people still give a damn about The Simpsons, because like, even I've lost interest in the show despite my just passionate love for like the early episodes. And, you know, it's nice to see Simpsons in the news again, even if it's for like really wacky reasons. But isn't that such an interesting, like, generational divide? Like, I can't say
I've ever seen an episode.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I've seen clips. Like, obviously, I know what it is, but like,
I reference The Simpsons all the time to like my 20-year-old college students. Crickets. Like,
well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Speaking of The Simpsons and speaking of conspiracy theories, do you believe the theory that The Simpsons is like predicting the future?
Oh, it absolutely is. Like, there are countless instances of it, but I don't, you know, like where they show like, you know, they had that clip of Donald Trump, you know, going down the staircase to become president, and like that happened on The Simpsons like years before Donald Trump actually did it when he announced his candidacy in 2015. Yeah. But I don't attribute anything like weird or like paranormal into that. It's just that The Simpsons has been on for so damn long and has had so many episodes that literally everything that's ever happened in the world has happened on The Simpsons at some point, because they've had like 500 episodes of that show.
Yeah. They had to make up so much random scenarios.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, though, that there's like 1 or 2 psychics just like sitting in the writer's room being like, this episode, Donald Trump will be president.
Yes. One of the writers on The Simpsons is actually those precogs from Minority Report, just like generating random things that are absolutely predicting the future. But we digress. Let us go ahead and bring out our guest this week.
Welcome, Jeremy. Jeremy Sirota, you're the real thing.
Intro song a little long this week, but I'm not going to complain because I love anything that sounds like The Cure. Our guest this week is the CEO of Merlin, a music licensing organization that represents the digital licensing rights for tens of thousands of independent artists and labels throughout the world. Merlin's latest initiative is Merlin Connect, which allows digital platforms to quickly and legally integrate Merlin music into their products. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting merlinnetwork.org. We are happy to welcome Jeremy Sirota on To Break the Business. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi there. I've never had a theme song. I'm really excited about that.
I mean, if anybody deserves one, it's you, my man. I am excited for this. I've wanted to chat with you for a long time, and glad to be able to cross this off my bucket list. For the uninitiated, Jeremy, can you just give us a quick 20,000-foot view on what Merlin does?
Yeah, of course. So we are effectively the majors for the independents. So you have Universal Music Group, you have Sony Music Group, you have Warner Music Group, and then you have Merlin. And we represent the collective of this very large cohort of independent labels, distributors, and rights holders from around the world, ensuring that they get the access and opportunities that the largest rights holders get.
And I characterize this at the top of the show as when one of these major licensees like a YouTube or a Spotify is doing a deal, right? You imagine this like large table where they have to negotiate with all the rights holders. And obviously Universal's come into that table because they're like 25% of the industry. And then Sony's coming in because they're like 20%. But Merlin is one of the folks at this table because even though you don't represent a single label with a massive catalog, you represent a ton of indie labels and indie artists' music that are collectively represented by Merlin, trying to give the indies an equal seat at the table.
That's right. And it's, even though we're operating for their commercial interests, doing deals with companies like Apple, Spotify, YouTube, innovative platforms like Canva, where people have the opportunity to add music into their creations, we represent over 15% of the global marketplace. So these collectively, you put these independents together, and it's really a large collection of music. And there is one misnomer, which is independent doesn't mean small. Some of our members may not be quite as big as a Universal Music, but they're quite large. They have global operations. Some of them have hundreds of employees around the world and represent very well-known artists. Shabuzi, Mitski, you mentioned earlier, is through one of our members secretly. Odessa, these are big artists with global fandom.
So how does an indie artist typically get their music represented by Merlin? Is this like an open procedure where you can just call up Jeremy and say, hey, make sure that I'm in your, sack full of music when you go to the Spotify negotiation? Or, what's the actual procedure for getting part of this network?
Yeah, it's there's two answers to that. One is that we want to represent the interests of independents around the world. We have members from obviously here in the US, but from the UK, from all across Europe. But as well, we have over 20 or 30 different members now in Japan, members in Korea, Australia, so all around the world. But the most important piece of it is they have to be a leading independent. So it's not for the faint of heart. The way in which you have to operate in this environment is operational rigor. It is the most unsexy thing you'll hear me say, but it's so important because it's so complex. And if you talk to any creator who's working on platforms, there's just so many intricacies to all of this that we're really for the leading independents because they have the ability to operate within our system. We don't do everything for them. We don't do their delivery. We don't do their marketing. We're not a one-stop solution. We're kind of this really important tool in their toolkit that really gives them more firepower in the marketplace. So we have an application process, and we look for those who we see have the wherewithal to succeed, where what Merlin does can help them better own their independence.
And I think you, among lots of industry professionals, are going to be particularly familiar with the minefield that is the music licensing process, because you actually came into the industry on the legal side. You worked in music licensing, and so you know how much of I'm just going to say it, a nightmare it can be for both rights holders and licensees alike
Yep.
to navigate this minefield, right? You're talking about multiple different forms of rights. You're talking about rights on the sound recording side as well as the musical composition side. Domestic rights, global rights, synchronization. Like, there's so many different moving parts for all of this that I think it can be a mystifying process, whether you're on the rights holder side or on the side that's just trying to get some content licensed to them. So do you sort of see your role with Merlin and the work you did as a legal professional as kind of the demystifier, the person who's trying to make sense of all this and bring these two groups together?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a clever Simpsons episode about this.
I hope you can.
Your
man after my own heart.
I think of it as the bridge. We have these two worlds that have never been really great at communicating to each other now. You have this world of music and creatives where so much of it is led through emotion and intuition and experience and relationships. And then you have this world of technology where so much of it is about how can we accelerate our development? How can we spin out new features faster? How can, sometimes break things? And, when they look at music, what they need to understand is it's not just a binary input into the platform they've built, right? Music brings cultural cachet. Music is what drives societies forward. And I've now done this in 3 different roles. I was as you mentioned, a lawyer where I did a lot of work for the music industry, both publishing and recording music. I did this at Warner Music, where I was for 9 years, helping to bridge this. And then I went to Facebook, now Meta, and did that in the very nascent music licensing team. So I've kind of seen it from every angle. So when I came into Merlin, I said, I can finally take all these things I've learned over 20 plus years, where I will admit, 20 years in the music industry, you're just scratching the surface. This is like such a complex beast, and then it keeps changing. So whatever you knew, it's like social, like whatever worked on social 6 months ago is totally different 6 months later. That's the music industry. Whatever you knew is different.
It is a complicated and ever-changing beast, as you characterized it. And the stakes for not being able to demystify this couldn't be higher, especially with the rise of big tech and AI. Because for a lot of these emerging platforms, when they look at this licensing landscape and they see how complicated it is, when they, the temptation to just go, well, we're just going to ignore all this copyright law and we're just going to feed this music into the machine and we'll ask questions later. That temptation becomes really strong because the alternative, which is licensing this the right way, seems impossible to be able to do in an efficient manner to get these, to get their AI platforms, for example, up and running. So I imagine that's a constant challenge you're facing right now.
It is, but what I would say is if you look at the arc of history of the digital music space, you're not going to see very many companies that have started off as massive infringers still in business. So there's this misnomer of beg forgiveness versus ask permission. It actually hasn't panned out to be that true. There's very few instances where that's worked out.
That's reassuring for the conspiracy theorists.
It's reassuring if it's true, but are we sure that that's right? When I think of a lot of the big tech platforms that are thriving right now, TikTok, YouTube, even Facebook, a lot of them built themselves on the back of at least being somewhat cavalier about their content being uploaded and maybe they don't have all the rights to it. Like, look at how big YouTube is today, and certainly they were able to build themselves up with a lot of content that they did not properly license.
That's right. And if you look at the painful years they went through to get to the other side of that, I would suspect the people who were at YouTube at that time wish they didn't have to go through that as well. So there are instances where folks have broken through, but each time the music industry has been able to adapt to that. But music's always been at the forefront of people trying to break it, to break the system. And each time music's been able to adapt. And it always, if you're on the technology side, it always feels too slow. If you're on the music side, it always feels too fast.
Yes.
And that's why I love this analogy of the bridge, is trying to bridge between these two worlds, because these platforms aren't going away. You know, I heard you talking about AI earlier, and I like to say absolutism isn't a strategy. This is a foundational technology that's going to be around for a long time, and we can't just bury our heads in the sand and hope it goes away. But what you can do is channel these technologies, right? If you can't hold it back, you can try to push it in a direction.
Well, and certainly your company has taken a pretty strong posture, almost a shot across the bow to these AI platforms, where you've made it clear to them in no uncertain terms how your Merlin represented music can be used. Producer Lauren, do you have the graphic that shows Merlin's kind of statement that they've made to AI platforms about Merlin work here? I think it's pretty powerful sentiment. I have it. You wrote on the website, no sound recording or other copyrighted protected works owned or controlled by any Merlin member may be accessed, reproduced, recorded, linked to, altered, ingested, or used in any way, including by crawling, scraping, text or data mining, ripping or making extracts or derivatives in connection with the training, development, or implementation of, as any inputs to, or otherwise in the context of AI models, machine learning, or similar technology by any means, and it including automated means, without a specific and express licensing in advance from Merlin or the applicable Merlin member. Yeah. Two observations from that. One, that might be the longest single sentence that's ever been drafted. But, you know, not that I'm knocking that. Like, as a lawyer, we love long run-on sentences. But two, it's a pretty clear statement that you're making to these AI music platforms. We're not going to just sit back and allow for this kind of use of our music. If you're going to want to use our music to train a platform like Suno or Udio, you got to bring us to the table. You have to come up with a licensing scheme. We know that you know ways to calculate how much of each individual song went into creating an AI-generated music output. Pay us accordingly. We want to see royalties.
Yeah, there's some. So number one, that is a very long sentence. I'm going to go back and talk to my legal team about.
Oh no, because now I'm going to get somebody fired. Don't do that.
About making it longer. About making it longer.
Yes. Tell them it wasn't long enough. All right. I don't want to make some lawyer feel bad because they wrote a very long sentence.
Yeah.
I love long sentences.
It is a very good sentence. It's very clear. It is very well set out. There's a couple of ways of thinking about this, which is, one is just point blank, training a model requires consent. Period. This is a license. This is not a fair use here in the US. You are training this for use to create other commercial applications, and that requires a license. That's the first point. The second point is that there needs to be fair compensation. And you see a lot of people talking about this as if, well, why should we have to pay for the past? We want to be forward-looking. It's like, pay for the past? What about the song that just came out yesterday? Is that the past? Like, how far back do we have to go before you're not paying for the past? Like, everything's in the past, technically, or is in the future, or we're in the moment right now, and now that's the past. And so there's just some of these like strange arguments people are trying to put forth to prove that this is not the way we should be approaching this technology. And what I come back to every single time, especially with music, is every single time there's been a new technology that's come along, we found a way. And so this idea that it can't be done, right? Well, they're able to put so much capital and resources towards these machines and building these models and hiring engineers. All they need to do is put a modicum of that towards licensing. And so you saw that one statement. There's also another statement on our website about we're open to conversations. And we've had many productive conversations. There's many of these companies out there in the world that actually want to be on the right side of history, right? Who see the value of what artists bring and what artistry is. And those are the ones that we want to work with. And everyone else, we want to make a clear statement about how they need to look at this space.
So I would imagine a big part of your strategy when talking to these massive rights holders, these massive potential licensees like Suno, for example, is not just to say no, right? That's the easy part. It's to say, no, but let's talk about how we can make it a yes. We are open to discussions. Let's work on some grand bargain together that respects rights holders while allowing this technology to move forward. And that seems to be your philosophy. Your philosophy is not going to be, no, we're closed for business. It's let's find a way to work together.
That's right. And it's not going to be necessarily easy.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a almost fundamental paradigm shift, that takes hard work. Right? That takes openness, and also it takes vision. You have to project yourself ahead to what this looks like. And then I'll keep coming back to this idea of the right partners, because each one recognizes we're not going to get it right the first time, but we're willing to come back and work together to find that right path.
And it also takes technological innovations that find powerful ways to connect the rights holders to the licensees. And your company's latest example of this is Merlin Connect. Can you talk a little bit about what this platform is going to do?
Of course. In fact, the first partner we had through Merlin Connect was an AI platform. And so if I rewind and talk about Connect, and I say, I've been doing licensing for 20 plus years now. One of the biggest challenges is what we were talking about earlier, the rights. It's complex. The second is trying to find the time and space for this. So you have only so many hours in the day, and you can only get to you can only automate so much. You can only make so many things so efficient. And so then you have to try to figure out how you fill those hours. And with Connect, we saw two challenges in the marketplace. One was that platforms didn't know sometimes who to call, let alone how to find an easy path to license quality music. And so they would either just stop in their tracks and just say, we're done, we're not going to license music, or they maybe go license production music. And then they wonder why they don't have a great experience with it. The second was from our side, the rights holders, the artists, which is, how do we find the next platform and get into business with it before it becomes $1 billion business? Because if we can get in there early, then we can help to shape it from an early stage. Because what we're doing with Connect, we're not just licensing music. We're thinking like investors. So we think of our members and their music, their artists and their music as our capital. And so how can we bring that capital to your platform to really help supercharge it, right? Music is a force multiplier. And so that's the philosophy and approach we took. And we didn't quite know how the market would respond, because we were looking not just for music platforms, but for non-music platforms. And it's been really phenomenal how much we've had inbound from it. And so that was one part of it. And the second part was the technology. Oh, and our friend who joined us, buddy.
Pets always welcome here. Break the
Oh my gosh, it always makes everything better.
Yeah. Oh, what a cute little pup. All right.
And so we thought about it from a technology perspective, which is working with the music industry is also complicated because of the technology, the way we deliver content, the way they have to pull it down. And so we look at all these startups, these scale ups, and we said, hey, if we could simplify this for you, if we can make this easier, if a platform knows how to use webhooks, they know how to pull content from us. So instead of taking months to sometimes integrate and get access to content, they can have it in seconds if we give them a token. So from months to seconds, from taking sometimes not even know who to call and not even getting a response back, we can evaluate and have an idea about whether you're a good fit within hours. So how do we just compress, like we're trying to compress time so that we can go find the ones who have, like an investor, the right mindset, they have a vision, they're willing to invest their time and energy. And so then we're going to do the same. We're not just giving you a license to music, we're giving you our time, right? Our expertise. And so that's what Merlin Connect's trying to do. We're trying to, once again, bridge two worlds and bring them together.
Absolutely. Technology is creating a lot of problems in the licensing space, and it's nice to see technology perhaps be part of the solution here. Now, Jeremy, I have heard that you will be stepping down as the CEO of Merlin at the end of the year. I don't know what you have planned next, but I'm thinking substitute Break the Business co-host when Katie can't make it. I mean, I don't know how full your schedule is right now, but that seems like a nice lateral move for you.
I would, other than my ability to engage deeper into The Simpsons, I believe I'd be a poor substitute. So I got to watch a bit of this, and I don't know if I have her cachet.
I don't know if you have a cute
all
pet
he's
like she
looking
does,
for.
but
I do not. I have a 13-year-old daughter who could sometimes run into the shots, but I do not have the cute pet, unfortunately.
well, best of luck with whatever you got planned next. I think, wherever you're going to go, I'm going to be pretty excited to have you there. And we would love to have you on again real soon, wherever you end up, of course, because we always appreciate your perspective, Jeremy. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting merlinnetwork.org. Jeremy, before we let you go, we got one last question for you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Oh, it's a very, very important one, particularly for you. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I do have a tip on this. There has become this misnomer that success is viral. It is. It is more likely to happen, or it's less likely to happen than you get hit by lightning. And the people who succeed in the music industry have three things. They have persistence, they're willing to put in the time, and they are building teams around them, communities and networks of people to help them thrive. And that's who succeeds in the music business. So those are the three attributes you need. And that's what will get you viral success. It's the thousands of hours behind that.
I love that. Thank you so much for your perspective. Our thanks to Jeremy Sirota and Katie Zaccardi. Thanks to producer Lauren and Abigail. And thanks to all of our viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.